What's going on, kings and queens? Thank you for joining me on Keeping It Copacetic. It has been a crazy week, but it's time to relax and time to kick back and relax. Get in the tub, get in the bed, get in a hammock, grab a glass of wine, a cup of tea, whatever. If you're driving in the car and you just need something to keep you from getting road rage while you're driving and we're on the commute, just hey, get a cup of coffee, take some sips of that coffee, keep you going, or a cup of some tea, and just relax and enjoy the ride. We're going to be moving on to chapter 10 in Searching for Everland. I'll do a short recap on chapter 9. In chapter 9, Portia gave herself a dose of the propofol by herself. She wanted to take a larger dose because the other doses were shorter and she didn't get to spend that much time with her son. So she thought, well, if I take more, I'll get to have more time with Nicholas. So she takes a stronger dose of the propofol, and then, of course, she goes through the spinning and the lights, and she changes into this new dimension or dream or whatever. I'm not really sure what's taking place. Is it time travel? What's really going on? But then she hears someone calling and calling, and she feels like they're calling her name, but they're calling Jed. And so it seems like this Jed, a Jewish boy, after the time that Solomon temples were destroyed by Nebuchadnezzar, and he's a shepherd boy, and so he's taking care of a sheep and complaining about the life that they've had after the burning of the temples. And so he's out feeding the sheep one day, and then a lion comes, and so he reaches out and he has to tackle this lion because he needs to protect his mom and protect the sheep from this lion. And so he hits the lion with a rock, and he goes running and running and running, and then he seems to fall over a cliff, and then there was that sensation of falling, and then Portia wakes up and she realizes that this is not, she didn't get to see Nicholas, but she actually had the experience of being in another life and seeing this person, Jed, and she gets the feeling that she was Jed and that she actually went to another time when she was in another life, and she was actually a Jewish boy named Jed with a dog named Asher, who was out here trying to fight these lions. And so it's just stuns her. She's kind of confused about the whole thing, and she just knows she can't call family. They'll think she's crazy, but she just needs some company. So she calls George. And George is glad to hear from her, and she invites him to dinner, and they go to dinner. But first thing George wants to know is, have you filed for divorce? Are you ready to move on with the relationship? And she doesn't have any good news to tell him or any progress that she's made on filing for divorce, because that's not even on her plate right now. And so he takes it matter of factly, eats the dinner, but he's like, pretty much, let me know when you start making that move or you want to be in a relationship, because George says he wants to be in an exclusive relationship. He's looking for a wife. He enjoys being married. So that is a recap on chapter 9. So let's go ahead and move on to chapter 10. I'm still sipping on this Rise coffee. I guess it's too soon to give any results on the belly fat, but I'm working on it. Alrighty, so let me get into chapter 10. Pam was coming home for a couple of weeks before the fall semester started, and I wanted to spend some quality time with her. It was obvious to me now that I had checked out on her, trying to retrieve what I had lost. Strange as it may seem, now that I knew that I could see Nick whenever I wanted, I was able to let go a little more. It began to dawn on me that Nicholas's life was continual and that his spirit lived in another dimension, and he was probably happy. On my way to the airport, I made up my mind to try to treasure the child I had in the present. Ooh, she looked so grown up, I thought to myself as I saw Pam coming down on the escalator. It was as if I closed my eyes for a minute and she went from being a little girl to a woman. I really missed you, girl, I said as I hugged her tight, feeling her hair and smooth skin against my face. You look good, Mom. What have you been doing? She asked as we walked to join the crowd at the luggage conveyor. Sweetie, I've been busy. That's all I can say. You must really like your new job. I didn't think you would enjoy working in a hospital. It seemed like too much drama for you. You're right about that, but it has its perks, I said as the baggage belt began to rotate. Forget me. What's going on with you? How was the job? It was good, even though I didn't learn that much. At least I got to hang out on the beach for the whole summer. I don't guess there's anything wrong with that. Downtime is good now and then. What do you want to do in the time that you have left before the fall semester starts? Daddy wants me to spend a week with him, she said, cutting off my air supply for a second. Wow, that sounds nice, but I didn't know that you two were communicating, I said, hiding my astonishment with my eyes on the suitcases revolving in front of me. Yeah, he called me about 4 months ago, and we've been talking on a regular basis. He came out to Virginia to see me for a weekend. Now I'm really shocked. I hadn't even considered Raymond. I hadn't heard or seen him in so long, I assumed he'd left both of our lives. Pam grabbed her bags when they circled in front of us, and we each took one and rolled them to the car. I can't explain it, but I was feeling jealous that Raymond would have gone out to Virginia to see Pam and I hadn't. I couldn't help but feel guilty because of the precious years I had wasted with her while I was absorbed in my sorrow over Nick. Just when I thought I could make it up to her, Raymond beat me to it. It was my own fault. I couldn't expect her life to be on hold while I tried to pull myself back together. We rode in silence until Pam said, Dad was thinking that we might all go out to eat together before I go back to school. All of us together? Going out? What was this about? I had enough things going on right now. It doesn't sound like a bad idea. After all, we're all family, I said, trying to sound casual. How's he doing? He's doing real good, Mom. He says he's been in counseling and would like all of us to go together with him one day. Okay, now I've reached my limit. That's all the new information I can comprehend in 1 hour. I took a deep breath to steady my emotions since I was behind the wheel. It's something we'll have to talk about when we go out, I said, refusing to be the bad guy by saying no outright. Anyway, you never told me what you've been doing all summer, she said. Not much, just taking some time for some much-needed introspection. I wanted Pam and me to spend as much time together as possible, so I took a week of vacation from work. I also texted David and told him my daughter was home just in case he thought about dropping by. It was good to have Pam home. The house seemed normal again. We cooked out on the grill just for ourselves, we shopped till we dropped, and we rented a bunch of red box movies that we watched late into the night hours. One night I asked, Did you date anybody in Virginia? We don't really go out one-on-one like that, Mom. We just meet up in a club or restaurant or go to a set at somebody's house. So that's how it's done? No wonder your generation can't hook up. What would you think about me dating again? Well, I think you should go out for fun, but not to get too serious. I think you and Daddy will probably get back together again. I don't know about that. However, my mind has been open to a whole new world of possibilities. At the end of the week, Pam packed up some things to take to Raymond's place. He rang the doorbell about 7:30. I stood in the foyer, frozen in my tracks. I hadn't seen my husband in 2 years, and I didn't know what to expect. Pam walked around me and opened the door. Time had stood still for him. He looked the same as he did the day he walked out on us. Hey, sweetheart, he said, giving her a hug. Hey, Daddy, she said, let me go upstairs and get my bag. Hello, Portia, he said warmly. How are you? I'm good, and how are you? I said formally, trying not to stare. I'm better, he said, acting as if he'd only been gone a week or two. That's good. Pam seems happy about seeing you. It's taken me a while to get my head straight, but she's my heart, and I want to be there for her. I'm hoping that you and I can talk soon and clear the air between us. Sure, I think we should, I replied as Pam ran down the steps with her small suitcase. She gave me a huge hug and kiss, and they went out the door. I could hear their voices and then laughter through the door before the car door shut, and then I felt left out. It was unnerving for me to see him standing in our house again. He was so casual, disregarding all the hurt he'd added when he walked out. I couldn't deal with it. I needed to get away. I headed straight into the kitchen to the refrigerator, reached behind the sticks of Land O'Lakes butter in the compartment, grabbed one of the vials of the milk that took me places, went upstairs to my room, and I pulled the kit from under my bed and injected the higher dose. I closed my eyes and I feel the weight of my body lessening, and the next moment I'm floating like air within a fog. I'm floating in a circle and I'm moving faster and faster. I have the sensation of spinning and then I'm falling. Streaks of brilliant lights are flying past me. The white light divides and I can see the motionless images like the negatives from a roll of film. Colors bleed into the light, and I focus on the most beautiful vision I have ever seen. A drum beat reverberates in my chest, quickening my heartbeat. The sound of horns blaring pierces my ears. My feet hit the stucco platform hard, and my necklace of turquoise bounces up and hits me in the teeth. On the ground, I can see that I have lost several of the most colorful plumes from my headdress in the jump down from the royal seating area. I crouch down and move closer to the stairs that lead the way out of the theater. The scraped skin on the side of my foot starts to burn and chafe under my sandal. But all of it was a small price to pay for my escape out of the great plaza. I refuse to sit through another sickening and brutal display of the ball game. I don't even know why they even go through the pretense. Just cut the man's head off and be done with it. From what I've seen, it's not the gods who are the bloodthirsty ones. I move quickly along the left side of the temple pyramid, running my hands along the intricate carvings that embellish the limestone, with my servant Star following close behind me to get back to the royal house. We first stop at the Queen's place, where the noble women like to gather, but my mother wasn't there. I want to find her because I know she's feeling downhearted today. It is the first time Father has been seen publicly with his second wife. I'm upset for her. To me, it is an insult to my mother. Why should a man take another wife just because the first bore him 2 daughters and he wants a son? I get to my room and I can still hear the roaring of the crowd through my open window. Star, help me change out of this huepul, I say, disgusted with the events of the day. I remove the ornately decorated headdress that weighs heavily on my head with its gold and jade stones. I love it. It is my favorite one, so beautiful with all the feathers that reach high above the top, and it always makes me feel as splendid as the multi-hued birds that live in the rainforest. I change into a brightly woven skirt and tie the belt firmly around my waist. Lady, your hair is mussed. I must fix it, Star says. She is my friend as well as my maidservant. I stand there fuming while Star takes down my ponytail and plats the long ribbons of color into my hair. In the chair, my eyes drift down to my arms, and I follow the intricate patterns and swirls that had taken hours to be painted on my skin, and it calms me down. Soon they will be permanently carved, and my skin will always be adorned. When Star is done with my hair, I continue on the search to find my mother. Mother, where are you? I shouted, trying to locate her in the royal residence quarters. Mother, I call again, entering into her private sleeping room, and then I see her seated with her back to me by the window. Bird, does your father know you have left the ceremony? She asked. He just wanted me there for his imperial promenade into the plaza. He doesn't care about us anymore, Mother. We've just been tossed aside so he can replace us with a new family. That's not true, Bird. We won't be replaced. You must understand the ways of our people, and taking another wife doesn't diminish his love for us. I still can't understand why it's necessary to dress in the finest riches and the most exquisite jewelry just to watch another man meet his demise. The people want to see their king adorned with supreme garments and headdress whenever he appears in the public. You're the princess, Bird, the next in line to the throne. You're going to have to learn to accept the responsibility that comes along with it. I sat there for the spiritual dance, the music of the drums and the horns. I enjoy that portion of the festivity very much, I said in my defense. All the rituals of the Mayan people of Mutul are important. Sacrifices must be made to the sun, moon, and the planets. Mother, it's backward and barbaric. What's the sense in so much studying and learning if we won't rely on rational thinking? If we're not going to behave as civilized human beings, then why don't we just go back into the jungle? You're being obstinate, my child. You need to go and speak with a priest for more understanding. You're right, Mother. I should go for more lessons in the teacher's quarter. I give her a kiss and head over to the far annex of the palace with Star following close behind me. As far as Mother is concerned, Father is her God. She doesn't see anything wrong in anything he does. It's so frustrating. No one wants to take heed to the warnings that are all around us. Greetings, my priest, I say, bowing my head with respect. Come in, Lady Nine. Why aren't you at the king's right hand? We aren't seeing eye to eye at the moment. A father's love is never in doubt, Bird. My teacher, you are the only father I have ever known. To him, I am merely a prized possession, not a confidant. I love him dearly, but he is misguided, and I fear his pride will weaken his leadership. Constant warfare will only bring our own destruction. Such strong words to be spoken by such a gentle creature. What stirs all this furor? Teacher, I have been to the top of the Temple V, and I have taken note of the changes in the alignments of the planets in the sun. If the wars and the fighting don't cease, they will surely lead to our end. We only make more enemies when we resolve our conflicts by cutting off the heads of captured warriors. When the caged panther breaks loose, we can expect to be eaten. You worry too much for a young girl. It must be time for you to marry soon. That comment lets me know he's not taking me seriously. Another male who doesn't respect the intelligence of a female. Excuse me, teacher, I must not be late to the evening meal, I say, choosing to return to the royal quarters of the palace. I missed you, daughter, at the final game, father says at the table. I'm sorry, father. I was feeling ill for a moment and needed to lie down. Did you call for the priest? He asked mother. She's fine now, she answers. Very good. I can't have my princess getting sick. I watch him rush through the meal, rolling all of his food into the tortilla to eat it and then washing it down with the corn liquor. By the way, I have a meeting with the noble elders this evening. There is more trouble brewing, he says to mother as he leaves the dining room. I sip on my hot chocolate for a few minutes before I say, no good will come from that meeting, mother. They all think alike. You can't have a rational conversation with only one point of view. Daughter, men are like animals, very territorial with that philosophy, kill or be killed. It makes no sense, mother. You can't truly control another human being that has free will. Why can't they be happy? Nature has given us the rainforest and we have wealth and culture. Why throw it all away for what they think is more power? It's only a concept. It's not real. This is the way it's always been since the beginning of time, Bird. The priests say men are better rulers because females are emotional beings that allow their hearts to lead them. But it isn't true, mother. Females make decisions after considering the consequences in their minds, while men move on impulse and rule with emotion. Why else would there be so much killing? Bird, I'm not sure if you were born too early or too late, she said, rising from the table. I go to the top of the temples over the next week to chart the orientation of the planets and the moon, and the signs don't change. Then over the morning meal, father says to mother, the priests tell me that Venus is in the ideal position for our victory. It's time for us to join our military forces with the king of Caracol and deliver a humiliating defeat to Calicomull. I wait until the servants have left the room before I speak. Father, please don't accompany the army. I'm worried. The positions of Venus are not favorable to us right now. Daughter, I'm a warrior king. I have always led my military, and I always will. The priests have advised us well, and I have no fear in my heart, he says, before he leaves us alone at the table. I push away my cup of hot chocolate. It tastes bitter to me. Mother, the pattern of the heavens are shifting daily. I don't know what the priests see. I don't think the timing is good. They are more experienced than you, Bird. They have guided your father for many years before you were born. He trusts them. The sun is at its highest point of the day. The time for the army to gather has arrived. The drums have already begun to beat a slow, steady rhythm, and I watch my mother adjust my father's jaguar cape and places his helmet on his head. He looks strong and impressive, but it doesn't soothe my worries. Come back to us with your head held high, she says to him. That is my intention, he says, and he gives her an affectionate hug. He reaches for his spear and walks out of the royal quarters with his attendants at his side. I hear the trumpets ring out to signal the march into the jungle. The paint on my skin begins to itch with my perspiration, and I hear the jingle of my jewelry in the background as I shake with trepidation. I go for a bath before I retreat into the private space of my room without Star. I take off my sandals and remove the ribbons of color from my plaits. I get my bloodletting bowl and I place it on the floor in the center of my room. I kneel over it and pierce the underside of my tongue with a blade of obsidian and drip my blood into the bowl. Speak to me, I plead to my ancestors. Tell me what to do, what to say to protect my father, the king. I fear danger is upon us. I've seen the signs in the heaven. I fear there is a traitor, one or many among us. Reveal to me the identities of those who will betray us, for the security of the city is at stake. All of a sudden, I feel a rumbling under the ground. It grows stronger until I feel the whole structure shake, and my bowl is turned over and my blood is spilled. I crawl across the room to my bed, despondent. It's too late, and nothing can be done. There were agonizing days before I am summoned to the central room of the palace. I stand before the expressionless faces of the priests and elders and listen as my mother says, "Bird, there's terrible news. Your father has been captured. He most certainly will be executed or forced into a brutal ball game before he is sacrificed. You will be queen, my daughter. You will have to rule, Bird." I was too dazed by her words to cry for my father, and I wouldn't dare shed a tear in the presence of these men who think me unworthy. I walk over and whisper to my teacher and confidant, "Meet me at the top of the central pyramid. There the gods will give me guidance." I return to my quarters and sit down on my hands in a futile attempt to stop them from shaking. What should I do? Should I send warriors to hunt for their king? Should I plot revenge? Or should I take the unheard of approach and negotiate peace? At the top of the pyramid, I'm humbled by the majesty of the temple and the beauty of the sea of green trees below me. I look into the sky in search of answers, and then I raise my arms up in prayer. Suddenly, I feel a heavy force on my back, and then my body jolts forward. Someone pushed me. Who and why? I'm the queen now, and who would dare to commit a crime against me? I lose my footing and tumble forward. I'm falling. It feels like I'm moving in a slow motion, and then I'm falling so fast I can't see. I can only feel the leaves of the trees against my skin. I reach out my arms to catch myself, but I don't feel anything. I close my eyes, and I lose consciousness. When I wake up, I'm lying on the floor beside my bed. What is going on? The only thing I'm convinced of was that I wasn't going to worry myself to death like Lady Nine. We don't have the power to change the unescapable, and doing so only causes us more aggravation. And that's chapter 10. It seems Portia found herself in another life. In the Mayan cultures, she's a princess. Bird, bird, bird. Alrighty, thank you, kings and queens, for joining me on another episode or time that we shared on keeping it copacetic. I will see you all the next time. Thanks for joining me. Please like and subscribe. Tell me what you think in the comments, and I will see you next time.